We got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. And some of you guys made a video, but that's all right. I'm gonna have some fun. We're gonna talk about why I believe an unpopular opinion that conspiracy theories are trash. Don't go anywhere.
I don't need nothing else. Every time I'm with you, yo, it's something else. It's a fact, and it's nothing else. Got your hand out, you don't even need help. Oh, I don't need nothing else. Every time I'm with you, yo, it's something else. It's a fact, and it's nothing else. Got your hand out, you don't even need help. Oh, that's right. I don't need nothing else. That's right.
What's going on? It's Ruslan with King's Dream ENT. This channel exists to encourage, empower, inspire you to live God's dream for your life. And man, we are in a really bizarre, weird time right now as a country. We are in a bizarre, weird time right now as a people. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk. And so I've been kind of kicking back, watching some of the stuff that's been coming out, some of the different conspiracies, I guess, if you will, that are spreading like wildfire. And I, feel some degree of responsibility to share some of my thoughts and my heart and the potential ramifications of some of these things. If you're watching this live, I appreciate you being here. Do me a solid, give this video a quick thumbs up. I would appreciate that. And if you're watching this live, let me know where you're watching this from. If you're watching the recap, the post-live joint, it's okay. Just do me a favor and at least watch the majority of the video until you go in the comment section. I spent some time putting this together, obviously, and I would like you guys to at least digest what I'm going to be talking about before you just scroll straight down and comment. I think that would be dope. So, shout out to Trevor. He asked if I believed that Pac was in Vegas. It's funny you bring that up. Why? The reason why I got on the internet in 1996, 1997 was I was going to the local library and I was printing Tupac lyrics. I was a huge Tupac fan, and I remember going and buying the All Eyes on Me album. Subsequently, he had passed. I was super distraught. This is my favorite rapper at the time. I'm a little kid. Long story short, I go and I get on the internet and I start discovering all of these conspiracies about Tupac and about the government wanting to take him down and about just a lot of wild stuff. And then it came to, well, he really faked his own death, and then he's in Cuba, and it just went on and on. And so I got on the internet primarily for the sole purpose of discovering conspiracies. Like, that is why I got on the internet, right? So this is not to bash conspiracy theorists. This is not about that. I believe in some conspiracies, and according to the math of the stuff that's out there, put together a little slide for you guys. 50% of people believe in at least one conspiracy, right? And 36% of people, 1 out of 3, believe that climate change is a hoax. So the majority of us believe in conspiracies or a conspiracy. I'm not going to unpack any specific conspiracies or try to prove or disprove. If that's what you're trying to get in the comment section, all that kind of stuff, we're not getting into anything too specific on this video. I just want you guys to know that's not the point of this video, okay? The point of this video is to say that, listen, how and what you believe impacts how you behave, okay? What you believe impacts how you behave. That is, by and large, the truth in terms of everything. If you believe that the system is rigged and the little man can't get up and the little man can't get ahead and it's just all controlled by billionaires and millionaires, then guess what? There's no motivation and there's not going to be any incentive for you to change your family tree or to get out of poverty if you're in that situation, right? So what you believe determines how you behave. we have to be mindful of what we're believing and what we're giving our attention to and how we're interacting with these things. So I wanted to talk about my view on some of these things. And I have a very broad view in terms of a lot of these things that I'm going to bring up. And absolutely a Dave Ramsey quote. Don't get it twisted, because I love Dave Ramsey. You know what I'm saying? And I think he's one of the people that in this time is sober in this this climate that we're in terms of some of his positions. I don't, co-sign everything he said ever, because I don't know. But here's a quote that I wanted to share with you guys that I think to me kind of defies where I would put a lot of these things, right? Now, again, this isn't to say every conspiracy is wrong or every conspiracy is right or this person is wrong or this person's right. Listen, a broken clock is right twice a day, okay? That's just a fact. So this isn't to attack anybody, but this is how I view most things related to the government, related to whatever, right? Is this quote right here. Never attribute malice to which is adequately explained by incompetence. Never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by incompetence. What does that mean? It quite simply means that we tend to think that most things that are happening in the world have some evil, malicious intent. But the reality is, anybody that's worked in government, anybody that's worked in big organizations, anybody that's worked in a lot of the nonprofit sectors where there is bureaucracy, a lot of the times the ball is getting dropped not because any single person or collective of people is being malicious. It's because they're being incompetent. It's because they're making stupid decisions, and it's usually incompetence, not malicious intent. And it's tough. It's tough to prove malicious intent about a lot of different things. And so I just wanted to so whatever conspiracy you are a fan of, I just want to share that this is the way I view most of the things that are happening right now, right? It's not malicious, it's incompetence. Now, there is a scripture from the Bible that addresses some of this. Isaiah 8 is talking about the children of Israel, and they're in a tense time. They're in a time where there's a lot of tension. There's a crisis happening. There's wars. There's really wild stuff. And Isaiah tells them in chapter 8, verse 12, he says, don't call everything a conspiracy like they do, and don't live in a dread of what frightens them. Make the Lord of heaven's army holy in your life. He is the one you should fear. So don't call everything a conspiracy like they do, right? The people that aren't a part of the tribe of Israel. Hey, if you're watching this, give this a quick thumbs up for me. And he says, and fear God. Fear God. That is who you should have reverence for. That is who you should be afraid of, right? So don't be caught up in all this stuff and be afraid of this conspiracy, that conspiracy. Look, fear God. Know that people a lot of times are incompetent. People make stupid decisions. People are broken and sinners, right? But they don't all have malicious, ill intent. Now, I'm going to get into some of the reasons why we feel suspicion and why we're skeptical. I want to unpack some of that. But before we do that, I got a song coming with Stephen Malcolm dropping tonight at midnight. This music video is coming out. It's on the King's Dream page. I want to give you guys a quick snip, and then we're going to get back into this.
Reporting to you live from New York City, from the borough, Brooklyn, all the way to the shores of the West Coast. If it ain't King's Dream, it ain't no dream.
Hey yo,
God always.
We in the city, New York City, ain't no telling what you might see. Bronx up to Queens, Manhattan, rockin' with me. Moving through the borough, king, dreaming with my brethren. I might buy a Yankee fitted cap, and I don't watch baseball. Living like a
Shout out to the homie Stephen Malcolm, and that's all y'all gonna get right now. NYC Freestyle, that drops tomorrow. Shout out to everybody who's in New York and all the people rocking with it. Now, so look, I'm seeing people all the time post information. I'm seeing people all the time drop stuff on their social media, and it could be problematic, right? It could be alarming, especially people with platforms. Those of us that have platforms, we have to have a degree of responsibility. But if we're honest, a lot of us who struggle with some of this stuff are coming from a place of suspicion, are coming from a place of trauma, are coming from a place of feeling out of control, and therefore we view the world as out to get us. And a lot of that is rooted in trauma. And then a lot of that is also just rooted in consuming too much information, spending way too much time on YouTube. So I'll give you guys an example. About 10 to 12 years ago, the Illuminati stuff was rampant. Everybody's favorite rapper was in the Illuminati. Everybody's in the Illuminati. And I too, I was meeting friends who were acquaintances and friends with these big rappers. I'm not gonna name names. And a lot of them were like, yo, nah, it's not really like that. And so then fast forward, I started seeing my friends, right? My buddies who I saw go from, 20, 30,000 followers to a couple million followers. And then there all of a sudden became videos made about them. And Illuminati videos made about them, to the point where some of them, their families aren't on social media, the kids aren't on social media because of the wild stuff that people say about them. And I know them, I know their wives, I've been around their kids, I know these people. And so you go through life and you go through the world and you start experiencing different things. You start meeting different people, right? And you start saying, wow, there's different people and different worldviews. And then you start seeing people become successful, and you start seeing people reach levels of success that you never imagined. You see them become millionaires, and you see, right? And then you meet billionaires, and you're like, wow, this is interesting. And then there's videos made about them, right? And then they're in the Illuminati, and they've sold their soul to the devil. And this is what I want to give you guys this quote. This is by a friend of mine. Broad generalizations is the epitome of ignorance. It's by my buddy Wes Watson. Broad generalizations is the epitome of ignorance. What does that mean? Broad generalizations. Whenever we operate and we say things like all black people are this, or we say all Mexicans are this, or all Asian people are this, or all white people are privileged, or all billionaires are evil, or all fill in the blank are this. That's a broad generalization. That is the epitome of ignorance. We would never say that. We would never say that about ourselves. We would never say that about the group that we're in, and unless we're being funny and we're poking fun of a stereotype. But when you start dealing in broad generalizations, all of these people, all people in the music industry, anybody successful in the music industry is in the Illuminati. And then you get into the music industry and you're rubbing shoulders with people that were posters on your wall, and you're like, whoa, wait, no, that ain't right. You start meeting these presidents and these CEOs of some of these major labels. You start being around these people, and you start generalizing, oh, everybody's in the Illuminati. Okay, I'll give you guys another example. All police officers are racist. No, they're not. You meet a police officer, there's a lot of great police officers. Are there racist police officers? Sure. All white people are privileged. No, there's some white people are privileged, but not all white people are privileged, right? You see what I'm saying? And so we ascribe these broad generalizations to people that are in our out group, and then we think that defines everybody in that group. And that's just ignorance. It's just dumb. And so I'll take it a step further. All people in government, all presidents, all fill in a blank, right? All of these people, they're all this. Well, how do you know? All really? Everybody, every known president? Look at the last two presidencies. Donald Trump and Barack Obama were not supposed to be president. They were not courted to be president. You could argue Trump probably didn't envision himself ever being president in his lifetime. And this is not an endorsement or whatever of either of their policies. You just got two people that were completely outside of the norm of what we saw in politics, defy all the odds, and become president. And my wife just read Michelle Obama's book. I read Barack Obama's book. Right? People knew Trump as a media personality before any of this stuff. So you're generalizing all presidents are this, all this, right? You can't. Generalizations is the epitome of ignorance. We are individuals. People are individuals. There's good police officers. There's some bad police officers. There's privileged white people. There's non-privileged white people. There's good presidents. There's bad presidents. There's good congressmen. There's bad congressmen. Right? People are individuals. People are confusing and complicated. People are on a spectrum. No one person is this way all the time. So to use broad generalizations, guys, it is the epitome of ignorance. Watch out when you're doing that. And this is myself included. What am I talking about? I'll give you guys an example. I'm not a fan of vegans, right? But I got family members that are vegans. And if I start slipping into all vegans are, I failed. I'm done. Okay? Or take it a step further. All conspiracy theorists. I just did it. Right? No, it's not all conspiracy. I believe in some conspiracies. There's evidence for some conspiracies. I know back in the day, conspiracy theories was used as a way to manipulate, and the CIA was using it as a way to dismiss people, make people seem crazy, and all that kind of stuff. The thing that's changed now, what's changed now is that we have this. We have so much information, and anybody can have a voice and seem credible and have a platform. So the times have changed. So we got to get away from broad generalizations. And then we got to say, okay, well, how are we consuming information? So I put together a little sheet, how to consume information. Consider the source. Number one, always consider the source. Okay. What else is this source promoting? I'll give you guys an example. There was the bill that came out, HR 66666, and there was some vague language in it, but then the organization that grabbed it and ran and pushed this petition saying, they're gonna go in your house and they're gonna take your kids and they're gonna force you to right? And it was like, yo, fam, examine the source. What is the source? Who's the source? Oh, the source is a crazy right-wing website that promotes all kinds of wild petitions. And the guy who came up with this thing that read some of this vague language that was a bit unclear in the bill, he then is promoting a very hyper anti-vaccine agenda. Right? And again, I'm not saying all anti-vaccine people are crazy. That's not what I'm saying at all. But that is what his agenda is, right? So one, consider the source. Before you post anything on social media and you spread any misinformation on social media, stop and consider the source. Where's it coming from? What are some of the other stuff they believe? David Icke, the guy who's perpetuating the 5G stuff, he believes in lizard people, okay? He believes lizard people live under the government's warehouse and, the White House, and they run the country, right? Do you think that's plausible? I don't know, but consider the source. Second, examine if there's a debunking or rebuttal article. Okay? Is there a debunking article? Has Snopes or Fact Checker or whatever, is there a article rebuttaling and debunking some of the stuff that's being said, right? Is there, just for your own sanity, just examine it. Maybe it's always a good idea to know the other side of the perspective. Always a good idea. So before you see something polarizing come out, slow down, stop and say, is there something that combats what this petition or what this information that seems a little off is pushing, okay? Consider the motive. What is the motive of, they want to crash the U.S. economy and they want to right? Consider the motive. If the U.S. economy crashes, okay, and there is no more America, the president doesn't get reelected, right? Like the global economy collapses. No one wins in this pandemic, guys. Nobody wins. So consider the motive. What is the motive? If this thing is true, what's the point? What is the point? NASA is conspiring with the one world government to lie to everyone that the world is a sphere, but it's really flat. Okay, what's the motive? Why? Why would NASA and the president and FBI and CIA all conspire for us to believe the lie that the world, what is the motive? Why? Right? And then this is the most important one. Do these thoughts strike fear and scarcity, or the thoughts that you gather, remember what you believe determines how you behave, or do they produce faith and abundance? Do those thoughts strike fear and scarcity, or do they produce faith and abundance? I think that's something important to know, right? Are you thinking and believing things that are causing you to remain in a perpetual state of fear? Remember, what you believe determines how you behave. If you believe that all police officers are all evil all the time, right? Then maybe you are going to be at a higher state of anxiety because you believe that, right? And maybe when you actually need the police, you're not going to call them. Again, are there crooked police? Absolutely. Have there been some things done to black and brown neighborhoods that were initially conspiracies that were proven to be true? Absolutely. Yes, I'm not denying any of that. right? But when we start operating and meditating our minds on fear, okay, it is dangerous. It's detrimental to ourselves and our own mental health, okay? So, broad generalizations, epitome of ignorance. What we believe determines what we behave. Okay, consider the motive. Consider the motive in any single conspiracy. They want to control you. Okay, they want to, for what? For what? What is the right? This is how capitalism works, guys. People work, they make stuff so that the GDP, the gross domestic product of the countries, grows, so that people make money. That's what is primarily driving our economies. That's a lot of what's driving the current people in office. It's about the economy. It's about money. It's about people being able to make money and grow the stock market or whatever, right? Controlling you so that you are mined by the 5G. Like, what's the motive? What's the motive? Now, okay, let's get off that. Let's get off that. So let's keep it moving. Now, remember, what you believe determines how you behave, right? What you believe determines how you behave. So my question is, if you believe everyone's out to get you, if you believe they want to take your freedoms. And by the way, this whole idea of freedoms and liberties, we give up freedoms and we give up liberties for safety. It happens all the time, okay? So you have to understand what is happening. When you want certain freedoms to happen, you're giving up certain liberties. Sometimes this is why you don't get to drive drunk, right? That's, people, I don't care if people drink, but when you get in a vehicle, it could affect other people and you're impacting other people's safety, right? Flying, all these different things. This is why the vaccine thing is complicated, because what's happening is they're saying, well, you don't vaccinate your kids, that should be your right. Except when you don't vaccinate your kids and you send them to school and they infect other kids because they have something and then potentially a kid dies. This has happened, right? This has happened. So there's freedom, your rights, but then there's safety, and there's this tension, and that's why it makes this whole thing so complicated. It's confusing because from one standpoint, well, people need to go work, people need to have freedom, people need to go outside. From another standpoint, you could be asymptomatic and pass this on to grandma and she dies, right? And so it's convoluted. It's tough. It's a hard thing, but that is a tension that we live in right now. This is the same thing that happened after 9/11. We gave up certain freedoms, like being able to walk up to the gate of our airplane, like being able to walk into, go onto an airplane with a pocket knife. We gave up certain freedoms in exchange for safety, or the perceived definition of safety, right? So you have to process these things and understand that it's not black or white. It's not us versus them. Broad generalizations are the epitome of ignorance. So there is no they and them. There's just us. We are people and we are individuals. And there's good people in government, and there's good presidents, and there's bad presidents, and everyone's on a spectrum. And there's good people in entertainment, and there's wild vegans, and there's good vegans, and right, and paleo, and black people and white people. Everyone's an individual, and we have to factor that in, right? So let's just break down something like food. Remember, what you believe is what you behave. And this is ultimately what I'm after, by the way. What I'm ultimately after is what you believe, so that you can believe the things that are congruent to living God's best for your life. That's what I'm ultimately after. So let's just take the food industry. We look at food, right? Some of you guys are in what we call food deserts. There's no grocery stores walking distance. It's all fast food and liquor stores. And we could look at that and we could say, well, see, there it is. There it is. They're trying to poison us with food, and they want to kill us, and they want to make you fat, and they want you to be obese and have diabetes, and they. Or you could say, well, there's people that look like me that have lost a lot of weight and they got shredded, and they manipulated what they ate, and they started eating more protein and greens, and they stopped eating processed carbohydrates. Right? And so what benefit is it for us to sit here and believe that they're out to get us and make us fat and kill us? And that's why there's fast food restaurants over there. No, that's just a byproduct of capitalism. Okay. And is there a conspiracy to keep poor people addicted on unhealthy foods and put cancer in the food? Maybe, but it doesn't empower you to believe that. It doesn't create an abundance mindset to say, man, I could change my body. I'm going to take ownership from my actions. I'm going to do what it takes to make sure I'm straight. I'm going to eat. I control what goes into my mouth. I control what goes into my, you don't get to tell me what I eat. I can control it. And so I can get myself to a daggone grocery store and buy food. They can't make me not do that. They can't get in the way of that. And so what is the benefit of you believing that? And even if it's true, what is the benefit of you believing that? What you believe determines how you behave. If you believe that they want to get you and they're out to kill you and they're going to poison your food and they're going to do all these things, and that's not propelling you to grow your own vegetables and go live on a farm, well, you're a hypocrite, fam, right? So does it spark abundance or does it spark scarcity and fear? Now, I want you guys to walk in abundance. I want you guys to walk in hope. I want you guys to walk in love. I want you guys to walk in faith. I don't want you guys to be fearful of anything, right? So let's look at two verses, right? Let's look at two verses. Okay? All things work for good for those who love Christ and are called according to his purpose. All things work for good for those who love Christ and are called according to his purpose. Meaning that even those things we deem as bad, if we love God, we're called according to his purpose, they work for good. And this verse right here, I read this morning and I was really convicted by it. Work brings profit, but mere talk leads to poverty. Work brings profit, but mere talk leads to poverty. I don't really care what you believe about these things, right? I only care if they start impacting me and my life and my family, right? And so what you believe determines what you behave. And ultimately, here's some things that are just facts. Like these are not, I didn't make this stuff up. These are just the facts of where we are right now in the grand scheme of the economy and in the grand scheme of world history. 50% of America's gross domestic product, remember, what did I say? It's the game of capitalism is about which country has the highest gross domestic product, is created by small businesses. That is a fact. 80% of America's millionaires are first generation rich, meaning they are self-made, they did not inherit it, they did not win the lottery. 80% of America's millionaires are first generation rich. Being an entrepreneur is easier now than ever before in history. And above all else, your great-great-grandparents would trade places with you in a heartbeat to be alive right now in this climate. What are we talking about? What are we complaining about? Why are we so fascinated on the negative and being afraid and the scarcity and the lack mentality? I don't understand. So again, this video isn't to say all conspiracy theorists are trash or whatever. It's just to say, listen, don't spread misinformation. Don't generalize all people. Consider what these thoughts are and if they're causing you to be more faithful and to think in abundance or if they're causing fear and scarcity. And know that right now, despite however bad it could be, and I can't prove or disprove any one conspiracy, that's not what I'm doing. I don't care. But right now is the greatest time to be alive, and even in the midst of this pandemic. Right now is the best time in history for us to be here experiencing this. 80% of America's millionaires are first generation rich. 80%. That means that you and I can build $1 million net worth. Okay? 50% of America's gross domestic product, of all the money coming out of our GDP, all the money that America generates, 50% of that is by small businesses. That should be empowering. That should be encouraging. That should be liberating. No one gets to control your choices for you. No one gets to tell you what you have to eat. No one gets to tell you what you have to do with your free time. No one gets to tell you how you educate yourself or what skills you develop. No one gets to control that but you. And you are the sum of all your decisions up to this point. I am the sum of all the decisions I am up to this point, that I've made up to this point. Okay? So, if you don't like your situation, if you don't like where you're at, if you don't like how life is going for you, probably should examine and look in the mirror. The reason why I haven't hit my fitness goals yet in this quarantine, it's not the poison in the food, guys. It ain't. It ain't because I'm using a extra virgin olive oil spray. It's because I'm eating more than I should because I'm stressed, right? It's not McDonald's fault. It's not it's not Burger King's fault. It's not Chick-fil-A's fault. It's my responsibility. It's my fault. I have to take responsibility for where I am or I am not. Work leads to profit, but mere talk will lead in poverty. Work leads to profit. So I would encourage you guys. Are you working? Are you working on your side hustle? Are you working on your small business? Are you taking opportunity of this, taking advantage of it, right? Or are you sitting here aimlessly consuming hours and hours and hours of information, misinformation, not considering the sources, where it's coming from, who's saying it, considering their motive, critically thinking through the process and passing it on to other people that are then becoming more anxious, that's then creating more hysteria and creating this cycle of just living in a fearful, scarce mentality. Y'all can do what you want. You get to decide. You get to decide. You get to choose. But do not blame anybody but you for the decisions you've made up to this point, because every moment passing is another chance to turn it around. And so what you believe determines what you behave. If you believe the government is out to get you, if you believe that the system is rigged, if you believe that the little man can't get up, if you believe that there's a one world government and they want to use 5G for mind control, if you believe, right? If you believe these things, if you believe that there's poison in the food, therefore that's why you're not hitting your fitness goals and that's why you have to be fat because you don't have access. You got the McDonald's, the corporations, the billionaires and if that's what you believe, then those are the results you're going to get. But if you believe abundance, if you believe that life is happening for you and not to you, if you believe that all things work for good for those who love God and called according to his purpose, if you believe those things, you're going to behave accordingly. If you believe that 80% of American millionaires are first generation rich and that you can make it, if there's someone that looks like you that's made it, that means you can make it. If there's someone that's came from an area like you have, that means you can make it as well. If you believe that and you focus your mind on that, abundance, then you will behave accordingly with those thoughts. But if you're crippled by fear, you're crippled by hysteria, you're nervous, you're anxious, guess what? What's the point? What's the point? Why go and create something? Why go make stuff? Why go sell stuff? I don't know, man. Those are my thoughts. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. Leave a comment, give this video a thumbs up. Appreciate everybody who's hung out. Listen, control what you can, man. Control what you can. All the conspiracies in the world could be true. All of them could be true, right? And we don't control it anyway. So what's the point of dwelling on it and being scared? Who wins? Who wins? You know who wins? The algorithms. They keep putting this stuff in front of you. The advertisers. That's who wins. We don't win. You don't get closer to your fitness goals or your financial goals. You don't get closer to having the life you want, watching a bunch of stuff and being afraid. I don't know, man. Let me know what y'all think.